What's going on, nation? Today we're going to address an issue that has actually been requested a lot lately, and that's anterior pelvic tilt and how to correct it. But before we get started, be sure to click that notification bell so you never miss a new video upload from me. And if you guys have been enjoying my content, please show your love by smashing that like button. Now, it seems as more and more people are suffering from chronic pain, whether it comes from their lower back, hips, knees, or shoulders, the root cause the majority of the time is an imbalanced core. And the most common core imbalance is without a doubt the anterior pelvic tilt, or APT for short. And what makes this so serious is that chronic pain can not only limit your performance and result in the gym, but it can also mess with your everyday life and even affect your mood. And that's why in this video, I'm going to show you how to identify the problem and fix it in just 3 quick steps. But first, what is anterior pelvic tilt? Well, if you can imagine your pelvis as a bucket filled with water, the normal position of your pelvis would be neutral or slightly anteriorly rotated 2 to 3 degrees so that the water inside the bucket doesn't spill out. However, people with APT have an excessive tilting of the pelvis coupled with an excessive arch in their lower back, which if we were to go back to the bucket of water, would lead to the water spilling out in front of them. So if this sounds like you, then your daily posture looks like your butt is sticking out or shooting up in the air, kind of like Donald Duck. And the curious thing about this, though, is that men actually find this very attractive in women. We like to see the little arch in the back, makes the butt stick up a little more. We notice it from a mile away. I mean, I'm a guy, I'll admit to it. But in reality, it is a form of bad posture and can lead to serious pain. In fact, many of these people will probably develop some kind of lower back or hip pain in the future if they don't have it already. And the easiest way to find out if you have an anterior pelvic tilt is to just look at your waistline in the mirror. So just stand up right now and stand sideways in front of a mirror and lift your shirt up with your normal posture. Is your waistline severely tilted forward with your butt sticking up high while you're in a relaxed position? If yes, then you're suffering from APT. Another way to determine if you have APT is if you have chronic unexplained pain in your lower back or hips. And in some cases, even your knees and ankles may hurt as well. So if you currently have pain but don't remember actually injuring those areas, and you don't have some sort of bone defect, then there must be some root cause to these pains, and typically it's a muscle imbalance in your core. Now let's talk about how a problem with your pelvis or hips can affect different parts of your body. You have to understand that the body works as a kinetic chain and everything is connected with X patterns. This means that muscles work synergistically and antagonistically in balance to create a healthy, functional, and pain-free body, and it's the distortion of this balance that can cause problems. Generally, guys, a problem that resides in your core or close to it will be reflected outwards, usually in your limbs. More specifically, an anterior pelvic tilt is characterized by overly tightened hip flexors and lower back muscles and overly weak abdominals, hamstrings, and glutes. The result of this tilting is, first and foremost, guys, compression in your lower back, leading to back pain. Next, since the pelvis now has this tendency to tilt forward, your femur or thighs will have a tendency to medially rotate or rotate inwards. In fact, if you stand up right now and try it, you'll notice that as you stick your butt out as far as you can, that your knees will start to turn in. They're collapsing and buckling. So with this information, we now know that APT is coupled with the medial rotation of the femur, and we know this will also asymmetrically load your knees when you lift weights. Guys, it doesn't matter if it's a heavy barbell squat or just bending over picking up some groceries out of your trunk. You're still loading your knees asymmetrically, which can cause knee pain or a serious knee injury. Moving on downwards, medially rotated thighs can also lead to tight calves and flat feet, disabling you from getting into proper dorsiflexion, which is essentially ankle bending. For those of you who have a really hard time getting low on a squat, this is probably ringing some bells for you because you might already be prone to ankle injuries and notice that your lower body mobility is severely limited. But what about the upper body? Well, APT can wreak havoc on your upper body too, guys. You see, an excessive arch in your lower back, or hyperlordosis, will have your torso leaning forward. But your body doesn't like that because naturally your eyes always want to be level with the horizon. So it compensates by extending your neck, causing an excessive arch at your neck and your upper back, which is also kind of like a kyphotic posture. All this excess pressure in your neck can lead to headaches, dizziness, shoulder pain, elbow pain, upper back pain, and even pains in your chest. So hopefully now you can see that APT is more than just a lower back issue. It can affect your entire body. It's just a matter of which is the weakest link to determine which part of your body will develop chronic pain first. And in more serious cases, people can get pain in multiple areas of their body at the same time, which, as you can imagine, is very painful. But what causes APT and why is it seemingly becoming more common? Well, in the majority of cases, the main cause for APTs are lifestyle choices and everyday actions. For example, most of us are living sedentary lives. We sit in a chair all day because our work or school dictates it. This causes various muscle groups to stiffen up and others to weaken over time, which leads to muscle imbalances, especially in the core. APT can also be manifested in active people due to faulty recruitment patterns. What I mean is that not knowing how to properly squat or deadlift will teach your nervous system to wrongly activate certain muscles, which then become overly tightened and prevalent against other muscles that should be activated instead. So to summarize, if your nervous system does not recruit or activate your muscles properly, this leads to muscular imbalances, which leads to chronic pain and injuries. And now that we know what APT is and how it's caused, let's get started with how you're going to fix it. The strategy to correct APT involves 3 stages, but they all revolve around stretching and strengthening your body. For stretching, we're going to focus on the hip flexors and lower back. And for strengthening, we're going to focus on the abdominals and glutes and hamstrings. This, however, does not mean do some ab crunches and hamstring curls and you're good to go. You actually have to teach your nervous system how to activate the dormant muscles and how to deactivate the prevailing ones to get to the root of the issue here. So, step number 1, stretching the correct muscles before doing any strengthening. Remember that static stretching a muscle is essentially temporarily weakening its elasticity, and that trying to work the abs before stretching the opposing muscles won't achieve much because the hip flexors and lower back will step up and do the majority of the work. So let's begin with 3 to 4 sets of 60 to 120 seconds of these 3 stretches before attempting step number 2. The first stretch you're going to do is the iliopsoas stretch, and the way to perform this, guys, is you're going to place one foot forward like this. You're going to place your hands on top of your left thigh, and then once into position, you're going to start to push your pelvis forward while flexing your glutes. And as you do that, you're going to lower yourself to the ground. There's a slight bend in your knee back here, but what you should be feeling this as you're flexing your glutes and pushing your pelvis forward is a nice deep stretch right through here, all right? If you're not feeling it in the front of your hip flexors, then you're doing something wrong. And what you want to do is hold this stretch for about 60 to 120 seconds, and then as soon as you're done on one side, you're going to come to the top, switch legs, and perform the same movement. Again, placing your hands on your thigh and then sitting like this, slight bend in your back knee. And what you're going to do is repeat this 3 to 4 times per side, all right? And what should happen is as you go back and forth after each set, you should be able to get a bit deeper and deeper as long as you're breathing smoothly and stretching as hard as you can for those 60 to 120 seconds. The second stretch is going to be a quad flex targeting the rectus femoris. And the reason why we're doing a quad stretch is because the rectus femoris is a hip flexor. And the way to do this stretch is you're going to get down just like this. You're going to lay on your chest. And then once in position, guys, you're going to lift your right leg, reach back with your hand, and try to pull your foot to your glutes. And you're going to hold this position for 60 to 120 seconds, pulling your leg as hard as you can, trying to get a nice deep stretch. Now as you're doing this, guys, as soon as the 60 to 120 seconds is over, you're going to put your leg down, go to the other leg, and then hold this for 60 to 120 seconds. And you're going to go back and forth 2 to 3 times. And once again, as you go back and forth, you should be able to get a deeper and deeper stretch as long as you're pulling nice and tight and you're breathing calmly. Now also too, guys, if you can reach, you want to go back with 2 hands and really pull it. You have this option as well. Just don't force it so much that you injure yourself, all right? Listen to your body. If you can reach back with both hands and pull on that quad, great. If you're not ready for that yet, don't force it. It will come in time. And the last stretch is a lower back stretch targeting the erector spinae. And guys, you do not want to do this exercise standing, okay? Obviously, you can bend over and stretch your lower back this way, but we want to prevent any further injuries from happening. So what we're going to do to ensure we get a nice deep stretch safely is sit down on a chair. So you're going to sit down just like this, and then once you're seated, what you're going to do is you're going to hang over like this, and you're going to relax everything in your upper body. So you're going to see my head, my shoulders, and my hands all just relax just like this. And you're going to breathe regularly and try to get lower and really feel that lower back start to stretch. And you're going to hold this for 60 to 120 seconds. And then as soon as you're done, you're going to stand up, you're going to shake it out for a bit, and you're going to do it for 3 to 4 sets. And as soon as you finish doing that, we've completed all the stretches you're going to do, and we're going to now move on to step 2, which is strengthening the weakened and dormant muscles in your body, causing anterior pelvic tilt. All right, guys, so step number 2, strengthening the weak and dormant muscles. Now that we have stretched out the tight muscles, it's time to work on our weaknesses. In this stage, we're going to work these muscles by performing simple movements on the floor, and once we're done, we're going to move on to step number 3, which is attempting functional and complex movement patterns. The first exercise is called the no gap, and what you're going to do is lay down in a sit-up position, so you get your feet at 90 degrees, your feet are flat on the ground, and then one noticeable difference that's going to happen with you guys versus me is that if you're suffering from anterior pelvic tilt, you're not going to be flat like this. You're going to have an arch in your back, and a lot of you guys are going to be able to take your left arm and stick it right through there pretty easily. So the reason why this exercise is called the no gap is because what you want to do is tuck your hips down and forward like this to first eliminate that gap before we even start the movement. Once in place here, what you're going to do is keep your abs tight, keep your glutes flexed, and then start alternating, putting one leg out forward like this, coming back to the starting position, and then sticking the other leg out forward like this, and then coming back to the starting position. And you're going to continue to do this until you do 25 reps per leg. All right, guys? And now this exercise is much more than just sticking out your leg and then bringing it back to the starting position. For those of you suffering with anterior pelvic tilt, you're going to have to really flex your core and keep your glutes tense in order to keep your lower back on the ground so that that gap does not come back as you perform the movement. If at any point in time you start to lift off the floor, reset yourself, or if you start to get some severe back pain, just take a short rest and then get back at it. If you have a really bad case of anterior pelvic tilt, this is going to be a hard exercise for you, so don't be surprised if it takes you a bit longer to complete. But once you do 25 reps per side, you're going to rest for a bit and then complete 3 to 4 sets of this movement. The second exercise is going to be a glute bridge. Now, exercise 1, really focus on activating the lower abs. Lower abs should be on fire right now. This exercise is going to focus on activating those glutes. So what you're going to do is get into the same starting position, guys, all right? And then what you're going to do from here, number 1, make sure you got that no gap still. We still don't want to have any gap here. And then once you're in this position, you're going to push through your heels and extend your glutes to the ceiling just like this. And as you extend your glutes, guys, you're not just going to go up like this and stop here. You're going to flex as hard as you can and get a slight hyperextension at the top of the movement. This is how you fully engage your glutes when doing a glute bridge. And what you're going to do is you're going to hold this position for 20 seconds. As soon as you're done holding for 20 seconds, come back down to the starting position, rest for a second, and then come back up and hold for another 20, and you're going to do 10 repetitions. All right? As soon as those repetitions are done, you're going to rest, and then you're going to complete this 2 more times for a total of 3 working sets. Now, a couple other things to keep in mind, guys. Number 1, if you're starting to get lower back pain while doing this movement, it's most likely because as you come up like this, When you go back down to the starting position, you're actually going directly back into anterior pelvic tilt, where you have a gap back here and you're able to fit your arm in between your back and the floor. What you need to make sure you're doing on every single repetition is coming up and then coming back down flat. So if you're noticing lower back pain, it's probably because you're not coming back down to a flat position. And again, really make sure that when you extend, you flex and hold this position with a slight hyperextension for a full 20 seconds. And the third and final exercise is the plank. The first two exercises taught your central nervous system how to activate your lower abs and then how to activate your glutes. Now we're going to see if you can activate them both at the same time. Now you can do the plank a few different ways. The way I want you guys to do it is being down on your elbows and your toes. But if this is too hard for you or you're starting to feel fatigued, it's okay to go down to your knees. All right? Now what you're going to do for the plank is you're going to hold it for as long as you can, and you're going to do 3 to 4 sets of this. But holding a plank is much more than just being like this, all right? There's a few different things you have to keep in mind when doing this movement. Number one, once you're in the plank position, obviously you don't want to be in anterior pelvic tilt where you have an arch in your back like this. So what you're going to do is utilize your lower abs and your glutes by tucking forward like this, flexing your abs and flexing your glutes to hold yourself in this position so your body is 100% straight. So when you guys are doing the plank, you're not just seeing how long you can keep your body up on your elbows and your toes, you're seeing how long you can keep your body up on your elbows and toes while also flexing your glutes and abs and sucking in your stomach just like this. So again, you're going to hold this position for as long as you can, and then as soon as you fail, you're going to rest for a bit, and you're going to do this for a total of 3 to 4 sets. And as soon as you're done, that completes stage 2 of your recovery process, and you guys should be doing the stretches and these exercises every single day, preferably when you first wake up in the morning and then before you go to bed at night. All right, guys, and the final step, step number 3, is integrating your new foundations into your lifestyle. Guys, steps 1 and 2 will definitely help take care of the issue, but you need to ensure that you're not repeating the cause of the issue when you return to your normal activities. Be it squatting, deadlifting, walking, sitting, or even bicep curling, you need to be aware and mindful of your posture and adjust it at all times. Make sure you're tucking your butt under your torso, sucking in your abs during daily activities, and figuring out a way to remind yourself to recheck your posture at different times of the day. Set an alarm on your phone to go off every 30 minutes if you have to, whatever it takes, because remember that over time, this new posture will become what's normal for your body, and you won't have to remind yourself again and again to do these things. Also, once this happens, you'll be able to reduce the amount of corrective stretching and strengthening you had to do when you first began your journey of fixing your APT. But it's still advised to perform those stretches and those exercises once a week to make sure the problem does not come back. If this video was helpful to you, please show some love by smashing that like button and share it across your social media, as I'm sure 90% of the people that you connect with on a daily basis have APT or are starting to feel the symptoms of it, just because that's the world we live in now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post in my forums on muscularstrength.com for more one-on-one help, and I'll be more than happy to help you get on the right track. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and as always, more good stuff coming soon. See you guys.